my friends, my name's Corrupt and it is time to talk about one of the strongest dragon attacks you'll want to use at Town Hall 13. Let's start off with a regular DragBat. How you want to start this attack off is by looking at splash buildings. Things like the Giga Inferno, Multi-Target Inferno, Scatter Shots, Eagle Artillery, and the Wizard Towers are all things that you want to consider. So usually how you want to start the attack off is to create the funnel. Using stuff like balloons and a baby dragon does provide a lot of great support. You could also bring sneaky goblins to funnel resource collectors. Then what you want to do is start sending in your heroes. You want to be able to make sure that you're going in for a particular area. In this case, the attacker chose to go in for the eagle due to that being one of the splash buildings and of course getting rid of the wizard tower, or at least one of them. You want to clear through a couple structures, possibly lure out the enemy CC, and what you're doing at this stage is you have your dragons to easily move into the base. Now you do also have your royal champion, and I would highly always recommend her to be placed towards or with the dragons, but in order to help create the funnel. So while the dragons are moving in, you could use that royal champion to go in for something like a multi-inferno. Typically you want to use one rage spell early on in order to make sure that the dragons are moving through, and using your Grand Warden ability to protect them early on, especially through the enemy CC. At this point, as you've got your dragons going into the core, you should use your Battle Blimp. You could use this with the dragons, or you could use it like this with sneaky goblins and a couple yetis. That way what you're able to do is clear the town hall. It's now time to start your bat spells. How you want to start it is something maybe like this. If there aren't many splash buildings around there, you could use all your bats in the base with a couple freeze spells. Chances are this is completely fine to do, especially if you can get rid of other buildings like the scatter shot and the wizard towers, and using those freeze spells right at the right moments in order to make sure that you're able to have your bats clear through the rest of it. It's really how you want to think about it and how you prevent your bats from getting taken down too easily. If that scatter shot was locked onto the bats immediately, this would maybe have been a fail because of that scatter shot being in the core. So those are things that you do want to consider. Overall, it is still a very strong option, and if you do not have max heroes or you don't have many of your troops maxed out, this can work incredibly well as long as you're hitting the right base, but knowing base identification is always important. Now, another option you have with the DragBat is adding Dragon Riders to it. Even if they're level 1, Dragon Riders do a ton of work with dragons. How you want to really think about it is, remember, very similar process to the first replay. Creating the funnel. You want to make sure that you've got an easy area to enter into. In this case, the best area to enter into the base is the Eagle Artillery with the heroes. That way what you're able to do is get rid of a couple splash buildings like the Eagle Artillery and a Wizard Tower. Since there is a single target Inferno, chances are that is a good spot to start a bat wave of sorts, but we will be getting to that a little bit later. Sometimes it's not worth bringing in Ice Golem, sometimes you might be able to fit some housing space in, but once you've got that moving into the base, you can start sending in your dragons. Having a couple dragons on the outside to create the funnel really does help the main push in. Now this is what I meant by using the Battle Blimp. In case you see a town hall where there could be a trap at any given interval around there, it's usually better to place the Battle Blimp with the dragons and dragon riders. So you're able to have that Battle Blimp go all the way across the base and to deal with the town hall. So while that town hall will be taken down with balloons and a dragon, in case you can't get sneaky goblins, you can then start your bat wave. This way, what you're also able to bring is your royal champion on the back end, using her in order to help clear through buildings and making sure that the bats go in a good direction. Unfortunately here, the tornado trap gets pulled and a lot of the bats will die from that. And unfortunately, they will not be able to survive against a Tesla farm. So overall, something like this could happen, and you just want to consider about being careful of tornado traps and red air bombs, especially with an attack that uses all air units. So you do want to be very careful about that as you start to use this attack. but overall, it could still work out in your favor. As long as you have a good amount of dragons and there isn't a scatter shot or single inferno still left up, you will be able to get the triple with it. Hands down, it is a very simple attack, and once you start to get the understanding of it, and once you start to learn it and have a little bit of repetition with it, you will be able to have your dragons sweep through even if you lose your Grand Warden or you lose your bat spells. As long as they've cleared some of the defensive buildings, you will allow yourself to have a very simple 3-star just like this one. The DragBat can also work extremely well versus centralized Town Hall bases, and even if you have some lower level heroes like a level 10 Royal Champion. This can work incredibly well on a lot of bases and against a bunch of different CCs. Typically, how you want to start this, like I've said, is to create the funnel. Make sure that you're looking for an area to break into. As an example, breaking the Barbarian King and Archer Queen in for something like the Wizard Tower and the Multi-Inferno. This gives you some really good value, and it allows you to control your dragons at least on the left side of the base. So while what you're able to do from there is to clear those structures, you're able to then cut this area off for the dragons not to really worry about it. As you're able to continue to work yourself across, you may have the Barbarian King to go in, and sometimes you may lure out the enemy CC. In this case, it's an Electro Dragon CC. That's usually not too difficult. As you're able to, you can just spam in your dragons, dragon riders, and balloons into the base. You could also use that battle blimp to start moving in for the Town Hall. Since the Town Hall is in the center, a good choice is to use the battle blimp to get rid of it. Of course, you may also want to use the Royal Champion to help clear through some of the defenses to at least help control the Dragon Riders and maybe some of the dragons. That way you can also still use the Battle Blimp as you work yourself in, bringing stuff like the Yeti and the Sneaky Goblins can provide a ton of support and work as you can clear through that with no problem. Overall, the reason that this attack was chosen is because all the splash was up here on this part of the base. Sometimes you don't even need your Royal Champ or your Grand Warden ability. He didn't use it until after the Battle Blimp was used and already got the Town Hall down. Overall, getting rid of all the splash is actually a viable option, as you can then just send your bats absolutely anywhere. In this case, sending it in down towards the bottom, where there is one final air defense remaining, does actually provide support for the back end things like the the dragons and the dragon riders. In this case, all that's remaining is the wizard or is the enemy heroes, the expo, and a bunch of other smaller defenses, but the bats can actually very quickly whittle away health from the heroes, so it can provide a lot of support. But in this case, this was a bit more of just spam everything and pray, but it did work out in the end. So overall, if this is something that you would want to do, make sure to have cleanup. Having minions, having the bat spell still up really does help, and having a couple of dragons can really also help. So overall, this may not have been a perfect one, but being able to make sure that you have enough cleanup and being careful of red air bombs can absolutely help your attack tenfold. Now, if you're a Town Hall 13 looking for some other lower level hero attacks, make sure you guys check out my new to Town Hall 13 video here, and also make sure to subscribe and ring the bell using code CORRUPT, and I'll be catching you in the next video. Corrupt, signing out.